All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Board of Selectmen for November 20th. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. Frank?
Thank you. Frank Campana. I don't know if 5 minutes is going to do me, but you can let me know.
Will do.
I have to back up the bus a little bit for my first comment. Back to October 19th and October 23rd. October 19th, you interviewed two people for the empty position on the board, Rick Hood and Jack Meany. On the 23rd, October 23rd, you interviewed at the beginning of the meeting prior to public comment and the rest of the agenda. You interviewed Mrs. Matthews and Tom Flaherty. At that October 23rd meeting, for the last two folks that I mentioned, Rick, you asked them specifically their political, if they had a political affiliation. So they answered, and then, as I say, public comment, and you seated Mrs. Matthews, and I made the comment that you asked the two candidates their political affiliation, and to the best of my memory, you did not do that to you did not ask that same question to Mr. Hood and Meany. And I said that, I stated publicly that I would look at the YouTube to make sure that I spoke correctly. I did that, and I was not wrong. You did treat two people different than two other people. I can only speculate as to to your motive of asking two people their affiliation and not two others. I'll leave it at that. My second public comment is the night, November 6th, when you set the tax rate, went through quite an extensive presentation by the finance administrator. Really pretty good, and darn good. But she, within that presentation, she stated that there was a little over $1 million in uncollected taxes. There was $1,122,000 plus, and then she furthered that by an addition of $1,340,000. I'll round that off. I heard at the table, from the table, I wasn't sure who it was, that the person said, "Goes to your point, people are struggling." Okay, so it took me many views of the YouTube. I got sick of doing it, quite honestly, but I thought it was a board member, but I just, by reviewing it, that was probably not the case, but it did come from a member sitting at the table. So, if people are struggling, it's because of what you folks presented to them last March. It's what the Finance Committee endorsed last March, and it was only 800 people that were able to vote because of the snowstorm. So, as Beth had said, I did come across, again in the YouTube, 2022 was a very generous year. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. You did. Anyone else? Public comment? Dick?
Good evening, Richard Butt. I'm here to present an article that I hope the board will include on the 2024 warrant. It's an article for increasing the veterans' tax credit, which is now allowable by state law, to $750. It currently is at $500. And just a little background, in 2005, prior to 2005, the credit was $100, even though it was allowed to be $500. And in 2005, an article was put on the warrant to increase it by $300 to make it $400 per year annually. And in 2016, there was an article placed on the warrant by the Board of Selectmen and supported by the Board of Selectmen to increase it by $100 to make it $500 per year, which is what it is currently. My article is simply bringing the amount up to what is allowable by state law, just to $750. So I'm going to provide you with the written article and background information, including the applicable RSAs and 2 warrant articles that established increases for the war service credit, and a document that shows how many people are taking war service credits for where and for Hillsborough County. Last year, if you recall, there was an article on the warrant. It was a bit vague, but it increased it created a new category, which was all service. Prior to that, it was just you had to serve during time of war, which, you know, given the last 40 years, it's likely if you were in the service, you served during a time of war or conflict. So I included that RSA in the article, which is not included in the prior ones. But if you're not going to do it, I need to know, so I can get a petition going.
Okay.
Hopefully you will. Thanks.
Just one copy, or is there multiple?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
It's gonna make 5, I guess, but I guess.
Anybody else public comment? You're on, Brian, you're actually on the,
Oh, okay, never mind.
yeah.
Well, I have 2 things other than that.
Come on up.
Only because he reminded me of one or 2. I guess 2 quick things. I know he had mentioned,
Name and address.
oh, I'm sorry, Brian Riebel, 54 Lindsay Lane.
Thank you.
Apologize. They had mentioned increasing it to $750 for the veteran credit. I think the veterans that definitely hurt the most are the ones that are 100% permanently and totally disabled. And right now, their credit for the town's $1,400, which I think allows max to $2,000. So if we could maybe put it as a warrant article or something to the voters and just let them decide. I mean, we don't have to really get too in depth about it, but I think both should be at the max, you know, because the vets have done, I think, a lot, not even the last 40 years, I'd say the last 10 years. So that's one thing. And I guess the other thing, real quick, is only because I know it's going to be a problem, because, you know, obviously it's going to snow on Wednesday, but what would I do to talk about with just Department of Highway? Only because I know I think I showed you a picture before. The road's like pretty torn up from my house, and I'm going to get pretty huge chunks of pavement into my driveway. It damaged my snowblower last year, but I was able to fix it. But it's just because the road's so old and the wing just tore up the side of the road by my house. So I didn't know if I know they can't pave now because you got to pave by a certain day or it's too cold. But maybe if we could push the snow towards the circle this year and not towards the houses, you know, when they plow, just until we figure out what to do in the future. But it's pretty like torn up. So just wanted to bring that up. That's it.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Jackie Pratt, Winter Road. I watched the last work session and the meeting before last, and I guess I'm still confused. It seems like you are the supervisors of certain town employees. So if we are to have an issue with a town employee, good, bad, or indifferent, if we just feel like maybe we were giving wrong information, I don't feel it's defaming somebody to come up here to ask. It seems like you guys would be our go-to person because you do their job descriptions, you do the hiring, you do the firing, all of it. So we vote you in to help us. You hire them. So it just felt like a couple of selectmen seemed like we were going after certain people, and it's not really going after somebody if you're just questioning that you felt the information might not be accurate, because people do make mistakes, and sometimes mistakes are made. Like, I know Selectman Bloom had brought up a complaint that he had received, and all he did was read the complaint. And then Selectman Hippler seemed like he was upset with him that he was accusing a town employee of something without listening to him or hearing him out first. All he was doing was addressing a complaint that he had got. He was just being forthright with the board. If that isn't the avenue, then I just wish that you guys could explain what the avenue is for townspeople if we feel like something wasn't right, or there's a discrepancy, and you've sat down and you've done all the things that you can possibly do with that town employee. You've tried your hardest, you've done everything you can, and you have hit a dead end. Then I feel like the next step would be you as a supervisor, but it feels like it's not that step. So what is the next step? Because I have yet to see that you guys sit down and ask anybody anything. We certainly haven't been. Or I don't know if anyone else has been. I've never seen any notes or minutes, or I've watched all the videos. I don't see where any resolution happens for anybody. They just get to come up here and say something, and then it's gone. And it just keeps continuing to happen over and over and over again. It just would be nice to see that. And I do appreciate, Selectman Bloom, that you did ask if some people could get some resolutions by the end of the year. Didn't seem to be a popular opinion by the rest of the board. That's really unfortunate. But you know what? As far as I know, I'm going to keep coming back. So you'll see me in January, February, pretty much every month for the rest of next year as well. Because we still don't have any answers. We are still at a loss. And none of this was our fault or on us. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Bradley Towns, 716 Reservoir Drive. I want to bring up an incident that occurred this past Saturday at the transfer station. I was made aware from Frank that I would have gotten a nice price if I was, a little nicer that day. I guess my attitude reflect the price that I paid for a crib mattress. Long story short, I ended up paying the $16 for the same size you'd pay a king mattress. I know that's not right, and the mattress I threw in, it had no metal in it. I'm not getting into details of what was said. No employee of the town should, conduct themselves like that. If Frank has a bad day, that's a bad business. He called the cops down there. They have video of it all. You guys can see it. Yeah, it's just a non-profit. I know that, and they made money off me that day. And he has it. He signed the receipt and wrote crib mattress on there, which you guys don't charge that, and I paid $16 for it. And I know there's a big, shortfall for the dumpster here, so it's not Frank's Recycling. And that's all I have to say. And actually, could I get I don't know if you guys have like procedures, like a process and procedures for the transfer station?
We can get you what we, well, we can get you what we have.
Yeah, I can,
Yeah.
yeah. If I could
Yeah.
get it mailed to me or something.
Yeah, if you want to get a hold of the town administrator, she can probably
Yeah.
hook you up, email or something, email
Alright.
copies.
Cool.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Brian, you're up again. Traffic at the middle school discussion. Recognize Brian Reapol.
The only question I really had was the land that I was looking on a satellite view, only because I know every town employee here works hard, and it sucks the way the middle school's set up, one way in, one way out causes a lot of traffic, and when you have to waste an officer's time to direct traffic, obviously, and they could be doing something else, and it kind of makes traffic a little bit worse. I mean, it's not their fault, it's because when you direct traffic, you act like a pseudo traffic light, so it just makes it worse. It's not anybody not doing their job correctly or anything like that. That's just the way it is, So I was looking on a satellite thing where the end of the school, I don't know if we could work with them or maybe tell them there's nothing we can do. It looks pretty close to where Moody Pond Road comes out or something. Is there any thought or maybe even just making a dirt road that's open a half hour so when people exit, they go south on 114, they can go out that way. That way you're splitting after parents drop off, they can, go different ways to get out. So there's not much, like a traffic or a hazard problem. I don't know if it's possible or not. I don't know how the land's deeded.
I don't think we own up to that, up to the road.
Or if it came straight down back to or whatever. Is there any other, thing of any other way to redirect that traffic or whatever, make it a little bit better? Because I know there's a pump station down there or something like that or whatever. I don't know if if we circle down towards that, like a dirt road, so everybody going south goes down that way, everybody going north goes out East Road, to help, alleviate the traffic there. Because I had, unfortunately, like I said, it's not really that bad, but, when they have to direct traffic, it kind of backs it up on 114, because just the byproduct of it. So I didn't know, because I look at the way the school's set up, it's not really set up great, only having one way in, one way out. So I didn't know what the town owns between 114 and that circle to, even just a dirt road, because you can put a gate and just close it. It's just, a way to get more people out faster, and safer,
Can you use the exit at the very end of the school? I think it's a fire lane, but could that be used for a half an hour?
I mean, that may help because when they're directing traffic at a four-way intersection on the instrument. So if they were able to maybe use that, would it help? Maybe a little bit, because now you're not directing traffic at a four-way intersection. It's only, a three-way intersection. So that that could help if something else is open. It's just unfortunately a bad design of because when you only have one way in, one way out, and personally, I don't like to go there in the morning. I just have to because my daughter goes to elementary school and her bus comes 8:05 and I got to be work at 8. So I have to go up there. That's where the Boys and Girls Club is, And it is a problem, and obviously they should be wasting their time directing traffic. I mean, they do as best job as they can, but it obviously wastes their time. They could be doing other things, and I didn't know if on the other side of the school where that circle is, if there's anything that we own or is it? Because is there a river there or something, or a creek that goes towards there or something, or no?
No, on the top of the hill. But I don't think we own the property up to Duck Pond or Moody Pond Road.
No, that's, there's
Yeah.
a house on top.
There's a house on the top, yeah, and I think it dead ends into his driveway, I think.
Okay, so that comes out, that would be his driveway?
Right, I believe so.
And what about from the circle if it went down towards that pump house? Is it too hilly
You're
or?
gonna have a sight
What?
distance issue.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a sight distance
No, I
problem.
was just wondering,
And
so,
then
you
you're
know-
tangling the buses is why we don't use the fire lane, and I can let Frank is here if you have any questions, is we got complaints, which is why there's an officer there.
Okay,
So now we've got complaints because he's holding up traffic, but we also had to put a crosswalk in at the middle school so that they could get to the store. There's all sorts of things.
I know, it's a
So-
bad intersection.
Just,
so-
it's a horrible,
Right,
Yeah.
so they were asked to go there
Yeah,
to make it safe. So even going out by the pump station or going out in that lower driveway, really the sight distance isn't there. That's why the buses go down and come up. If you watch the buses load from the front and leave from the front, they go
Okay.
down to the furthest pump station or the generator.
Yeah.
They turn left because they can't come out there because you've got that knoll. You're supposed to do 35, but everybody doesn't. So,
no.
I'm just saying, we were asked to set a police officer there, and I think the police department went for the SAUs or the schools ask, because we
Yeah.
got complaints. It's unfortunate, you're right. But I don't know, you've got Williams, you've got Dolls, and you've got Goodwin that use
Yeah,
that
Goodwin
one
at the top,
driveway
yeah.
there. And the house at the top of the hill is where it stops.
right.
So that's 3 people using that driveway, I think, that you talked about.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't sure where the road came. I wasn't sure if there was a better way to,
Yeah.
because
I
think
think
that's
that's
a
why
private
the
driveway.
circle's at the top, because the people that live at the top own next to the school.
Right.
Okay.
That's
So
why
we don't
there's a
actually own up
circle, or
toward
we
that
would have
area.
come down, I'm sure, we would have come down, it would have been easier.
Okay, then I guess the only other option would be what she had figured to make the directing a little bit easier, you know?
Yeah.
No, I was just curious, because it was a kind of bad design
Oh, yeah, it's-
and,
Oh, it wasn't ever designed for the amount of traffic. It was designed for all the kids being in the school buses, right? It was never intended or thought that it would be so much parent traffic going through there at such a short time.
yeah, no, I was just curious, because like I said, I'm not saying anybody in the town does a bad job, but like I said, I've done Jeff before as well, and it's kind of, you're like a pseudo traffic light, and traffic light's the slowest way to move traffic.
Yeah, there.
Well, the traffic light's coming, just to
Yeah.
let you know.
It is?
Well, in the state, when they redo 114, you guys all saw that with the crosswalk.
that's right, yeah.
The state wants us to put in a light. So when
A crosswalk
114,
light or
when
an actual light?
114 becomes, whenever it becomes resurfaced, that was the whole thing about the crosswalk and putting in a
Oh,
light.
is it gonna be like the Goffstown lights, though?
I
I
didn't
will, I
ask
will
this.
die on that hill.
I didn't ask the style, but that was the recommendation. You guys saw
Yeah.
that in the letter from DOT.
Well,
So,
Down-
they can
the
prefer a
road.
roundabout there.
That's the next 2.5 years.
Make it easier,
That's what you're coming up with, yeah.
so.
so,
All right. Obviously, full disclosure, Brian and I work together. This is way longer and in-depth of a conversation than we've ever had. We may see each other for 5 minutes in the morning and by chance at night if he gets back when I'm leaving or whatever. So we've talked about this a little bit, but maybe, 2 or 3 minutes at a whack, maybe?
Yeah, no.
And it was basically the same as this, but we've never gone this in-depth, so.
No, I was just wondering if there's not an alternative, just make it easier and obviously not waste their time, so.
Right. Frank, you want to say anything? Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening, Frank Hebert with the Ware Police Department, Captain with the Ware Police Department. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'll make it relatively quick. I would like to clarify two things, and I don't know that this was your intent, but I just want to clear it for the record. It's not a waste of our time. None of us at the agency consider that a waste of time. And I don't believe that we make it worse. So I've been here 18 years or so, and I'll tell you that every member of the agency, I'm extremely proud of them, and they are very responsive to the needs and the asks of the community, and as Naomi said, we've had multiple complaints and concerns from the PTO to just citizens in general about the safety of the kids. And so, to be clear, we're not there often or a lot, because we're on at 7 o'clock. The pressing time seems to be between 7:15 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. So when an officer is able to get down there, really crank out, get in at 7, get down there, they are there. And I really, I put together some diagrams and the mission statement and all that. I didn't know how this conversation was gonna go. Quite frankly, I don't think I need any of this. I just see it as, I think, the setup is
The layout.
not ideal. The layout is not ideal. We are absolutely, I think, we recognized an ask from the community, and I commend the officers for taking a creative approach to try to address that need to the best of our ability, and that's really where we're at. So, and that's why I had a diagram, because I thought possibly this might come up in terms of where we might reposition. I don't believe it would make any difference whatsoever. Our goal is, when those buses are coming back out of the middle school and coming back to 114, we'd rather stop, get that flow going, keep that flow going. We can have an officer there and stopping traffic on 114. You stop those two directions and just empty it out. And it's an inconvenience, not unlike construction on 93 or 89 when it's unexpected. It's unfortunate. I'm not trying to say it's not, but we're doing the best we can. So I want to clarify for the record that I don't think it's a waste of time at all. And if anybody thinks that we're making it worse, I would like some details on that, because our phone lines are certainly open, and that's not our intent. Thank you.
Since it was an ask of the SAU, are they contributing towards it at all financially? No?
Financially?
Yeah.
No, there's no,
Yeah, I know you're describing what amounts to what, an hour a day?
oh, no, we're there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Just one in the morning?
Just in the morning. As calls for service allow, I should say, in the afternoon, we'll try to get up to the high school, we'll try to get to different places, but it tends to be that in the afternoon, we get more calls for service as people are up and active. But in the morning, yeah, it's roughly 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to get an officer, and then we're in and out. Our goal is not to, we're not naive to the fact that when there's an officer on the road, he or she, traffic tends to be looking at that officer. So we don't want to be out there in the roadway because people want to know what's going on. So we know that having an officer there does open up the door to more, confusion. So we're not there any longer than we need to be. But I would say roughly 10, 12 minutes, and we're out of there. But again, it's not even all that common because we're on at 7 a.m. and then they have to suit up, load a cruiser, and get down there, so. But, yes, I'm sorry, real quick, SAU, there's been many discussions with citizens in terms of what, can we have community members? Could we train community members? And we're not gonna do that. But the phone calls and the contact, it's certainly generating quite a buzz in town, so we're just doing the best we can to try to recognize that.
Cool.
Thank you very much for
Thanks,
your
Frank.
time.
The gentleman asked if he could make a comment.
Sure.
Okay.
Hi, Clarence Gardner, John Connor Road. Just want to say, I wasn't aware this even happens. And I don't know if the request for the traffic light from the state is a demand or what they can do. But I just want to say, a policeman directing traffic for a few minutes a day is probably 100 times better than getting a traffic light. Traffic lights are stupid.
Brian, you all set?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's a horrible, it's a horrible intersection. There's really there's no easy way to get out of there. Even if you were to use the other driveway and come down and to try and take a left to go south, it's still horrible. I mean, it's just, again, I think when the facility was built, I think there was a lot less parental traffic there probably. There was more buses than, I say more buses, more students on buses, which that works pretty good going in that first entrance by the generator and dumping them out there. And then the buses can make the determination which way they're gonna go. But I don't know if there's any right, wrong, or indifferent answer to this, other than if an officer is available to go down there and try and help. But again, I think any mechanism down there is gonna slow it down. It's gonna cause frustration, aggravation, whatever you wanna call it. But, again, I don't think there's a right answer for this.
The only question I would have is, really, what's the SAU doing to increase the bus ridership, if anything? Is that even a feasible thing to do?
Yeah, it's probably not even on their radar, if I had to assume.
I think it's
So-
another reason
Cut down on
to,
traffic, you cut down on the problem.
yeah,
Right,
it's another reason to encourage people to go to the school board meetings.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
absolutely. That might be a next stop, potentially, see if they can offer any help. So, as far as rectifying any
Yeah.
thought,
So we don't have oversight over them.
yeah.
No, I know you guys didn't. I was just curious with the land on the other side, because when the
Yeah.
school obviously was built many, many years ago,
Hmm.
always having a second exit's always beneficial for
Right.
traffic and safety, and to this point. And my point was never to disrespect them or say they do a bad job. That wasn't it. It was to look at a better way of doing it, like having a second exit, somehow. And I guess that was just an oversight when it was, built,
Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll move on then. To department head committee items. You don't have anything, right? Okay. Jack Dearborn with the CIP Committee. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Frank.
Frank? You can go ahead.
Everybody got your copies?
Getting on it. It's all you tonight. I said that's all you tonight.
Oh, yeah. Just like, these stacks are getting out of control.
Yeah.
You guys all have one, I put one in front of you.
Good evening. My name is Jack Dearborn. I am the chairman of the CIP Subcommittee, member of the Subcommittee, Capital Improvement Plan for 2024. Just a little background. The auspices for the CIP is really under the Planning Board. When you have a master plan, there's really two things that happen. Establishes sort of a criteria for support of for the town, plus the other piece we probably better know is for the planning board is to do subdivision, site plans and such like that. So this is the half, and they, a few years ago, they basically requested that there be a subcommittee, so we basically were appointed and operate under the planning board's auspices. All this is basically from the Hampshire RSA General Court, 674-5 through 7. Basically, it states that each year the planning board shall, in this case subcommittee, shall solicit inputs for capital improvements for the immediate year and have also a 6-year outlook for assets, large assets, capital. What qualifies that in general is over $15,000, and it's also multi-year use, where it's not a operating or a consumable item. So to that end, just want to say the complexion of the board is made up of corporate executives, company management, some people such as Steve Roberts, who is leaving, I understand. He is a lifelong firefighter, retired, I should say. And we also have Bruce Fillmore, who is a construction guy, and Sherry Burdick, who is the ex officio, was an executive at Sprague Electric. So, with that said, just to kind of review this, when people say, when will we ever see a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6? Well, they're out there in the further years. We deal basically with stuff for the current year, which goes on, there's 2 definitions for the current year. One is urgent, which is really a life and safety issue, health safety, and the other one is basic level and quality community service, number 2, if necessary. Page 4 and 5 is, I apologize, it's an eye chart, but this is the way we can list all the capital assets the town of Ware owns that's principally rolling stock or something that's used in the process, not buildings, not roads. So this is basically the list, and second page 5 is the totals. You can see 2024, the current years, you'll see capital improvement before that. You will see 2025 through 2029. This satisfies the requirement of the CIP for what the scope of our review for the year. Page 6 and 7, we'll get into much greater detail, but basically this is what we consider the whiteboard, if you will, where we take all the requests, we put them up literally on the whiteboard, and we discuss them, and we select them as being appropriate for this year's. In the past, before this had become a mature process, we had a lot of operating budget requests. Took a while to sort that out. Today, I just want to really thank not only the department heads have been very cooperative, but also Naomi, Bolton, and Beth Roos for supporting the whole effort. So with that, I appreciate it. Just want to point out that at the end of the planning board presentation, which I made last Thursday, I detected a issue with one of the budget items, the totals. And the problem is basically how we treated the police, excuse me, is it the police? Okay, gotta get this straight. The police camera system for the facility. And one place it was included and one wasn't, and I recognized that. So on Friday, I stopped by and Beth helped me understand what the problem was. And today, Beth and I and Naomi worked to get the package straightened out. So I just wanted to be upfront and honest about that. So there is a slight change to the totals if you were here for last Thursday or if you're here today.
Jack, do you think that causes you to go back to the planning board for reapproval? Or-
I'm going to send a copy to them and explanation. And if they wish me to come back, I'm very happy to do that.
Okay.
So, again, we just fixed it today. I will put on the email tomorrow and have a copy of the attached copy. It's like 7 megabytes, so send it out there, and I'll just point out, highlight it. It basically didn't affect the, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to get into it here, but I'll talk to it when we get to that particular topic. So basically, this is the total request for this year, and I just might want to add that we really have no authority of what the town puts on the warrant. That's the purview of the select board. How this gets paid, whether it's paid with a long-term bond, short-term bond, out of us recommend that it gets taken out and passed by town meeting for a capital reserve or a revenue fund. So we will recommend how we think it should be done, but it's really up to you. This is really to give the select board a list of things from the department and for you guys to act on as you see fit. That's basically the reason for this whole plan. Just to point out, page 8, because typically we don't have this page, but because there's some unique things this year, I thought it was important that we highlight this. And it has to center around the issue about the Volkswagen grant. By the way, the people don't know what that is. Volkswagen kind of got caught speeding on the EPA data, which basically is the pollution control. And they were understating the amount of carbon that was in the atmosphere and other chemicals. And as a result, there's a gigantic class action lawsuit or whatever it was, and it was a significant settlement. And apparently, that's being passed down. I don't know if it's passed through the state, but it's being made available for grants. And the DPW, Jason, director, he basically forwarded a request, and he tells me it has been received, and it's supposed to be sometime in the next couple weeks. It's been kicked back because it took time for them to evaluate your request and score them. So the maximum it could be is 80%, and that is basically the 488 divided by 2, 224 per truck at $280,000. So that's option at the top, and that's how this is planned, assuming this is going to happen. There's also one without the DPW grants. So with the grant that comes is 96 cents tax rate. If we don't get that, it's $1.31. And if we don't get that, there's another option of putting one truck forward, which would be paid by out of taxes, and that's $1.09. So these three variations. Now, they could come back and say, we're not going to give you 80%, we're going to give you 60%. And obviously, these numbers will change, but I figured it was important to show these three permutations because, you know.
So is the fourth permutation not an option of with the grant but only one truck?
Yeah. Like I say, I just picked three things,
Okay.
and it's really up to you how you want to treat this.
I just didn't know if the grant necessitated 2 trucks because the one truck with grant was not listed here.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the answer because that wasn't brought up. I did ask the question, should we not get the grant? Are you okay with doing one? He said yes. So anyways, we'll go to each one of these requests in detail, and I don't see any department heads here.
Nope, they left you high and dry.
Left behind and dry. So I guess whatever I say is whatever I say, huh? So we'll see this. First one, there's two things I never thought I'd see in the town of Ware. One is $1 million fire truck, and the second one is a street light, traffic light. So,
Not in that order, though, right?
no, actually, it is in that order because I heard about the traffic light here tonight, so. Just point out, this is all designed and built to, I should have put that as a note, NFPA, National Fire Protection Association Code and Standards. We have tracked this in the CIP between 2019 and 2022. It should probably have been updated in 2021 or 2022, but it was carried in the CIP for basically 6 years, for 4 of the 6 years at $600,000. Then last year, Chief Richards felt there was an issue in terms of, be it this year, next year, from last year, that wasn't even close. So at that point, it was brought up. And this year, doing more detailed research, this tends to be the trend. Now, these requests typically are in round numbers, and the reason is, if you ask for X and you only get past X at the town meeting, at the warrant, you're really stuck if you can't buy it for that. So I don't know the sensitivity of the number, whether it's really 950 or what, but these typically are round numbers for that very purpose. And should money be left over, I think there's a couple cases for that. If we have a capital reserve fund for that set up like the trucks for the highway, it'll be put in there and be used for the following year. So I don't know exactly how it works for this, whether the fire trucks have that same situation or not. So anyways, basically this is, and what they're trying to do, as I understand it, talking to the chief that was here and the assistant chief now, and the Board of Fire Wards is, they're trying to have a truck designed as an attack truck front line so that we don't have many fire structure calls per se. Most of them are sort of an adjunct to follow the ambulance should it be needed. And this is designed with compartments and the necessary water on it and all this stuff. So basically, this is kind of a purpose-built for that mission. I'm not suggesting the other trucks don't work. I'm just saying this is the first time the town has basically focused on having this as a rescue fire truck, sort of augmenting the actual ambulances when they get toned out. It is replacing an 87 truck. Currently, the pump, to my knowledge, I've been told this, that it's not repairable, parts and/or whatever on that. This is the planned systemic replacement of frontline medical and support vehicles provided public safety and minimize operation cost. Because you'll see there's no impact to taxes, the current revolving fund for the ambulance fund, if you will, or it's really fire equipment, but the funding actually comes from the ambulance rides, less the cost of the administration. I think by next March, the numbers kind of wash out to be around $812,000. My understanding is you will never see this truck in a year from the date you order it. This is more like 18 months to 24 months before you actually see it. So the reason for requesting this year is they believe by the time this actually gets paid for, $1 million will be in the budget. Again, like I said, two things I never thought I'd ever see is $1 million fire truck, and the other one is a street light, and I guess anything's possible at the 21st century. Any questions on the truck?
Yeah, on page 10, I understand the 150 negative balance.
Yes.
There's also in 25, an 11,000 negative balance. Do you believe that that is just the timing of when we're gonna have to pay, and
Yeah.
that won't actually be a true negative?
That's correct, what you last stated. My first question was, what do you got in the bucket? And they said, we got 750 now. I said, what is it gonna be in March? And they said, it's gonna be 812 or some number. And I says, what is it gonna be when you actually have to cut the check? And they said, 18 to 24 months from now, it'll be more than that. And the future years are kind of fluid, because they could be pushed out, or to mitigate it, because the way I understand this revolving fund was, because this is a special revenue, and we collect somewhere between 200 and maybe 190 and 220 a year, from less the, maybe it's before they take the 14,000 out for the processing of the payments. The intent was never to have an impact by taxes. So this has been on, with Chief Viziner, had been on the radar, and as we get closer, we kind of probably should have brought that up in 2021 or 2020 to make it more relevant to the current costs. So you would have seen a more smoother rise. But who would have predicted COVID and the 24% over that period? Any other questions on the fire truck?
So I know some of this, you're just the messenger, so if you don't know all the answers,
I'll
that's
try to make some up.
understood.
Nobody's here to tell me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
So the 6-year plan that you listed calls out engine, we've got 4 engines, 1, 2, 4, and 5. So what's the state of engines 1, 2, and 4?
What do you mean to state?
How new are they?
I don't know. I didn't have that. You have that schedule?
20 years, I'll be able to do something with it. Engine 1's the 87 that's in the picture,
Okay.
okay? Engine 4 no longer exists, that's gone down to DPW. So why it's on the CIP, I don't know. That should be gone. Engine 5's a 2003,
Okay, sorry. One more. So engine
and
5,
the chart here says that engine 5 is the one's being replaced. So that was my question. Engine 5 is being replaced, because that's a 2003 20-year replacement cycle. On page 10, it says engine 5 under 2024. Engine 1's the one that's currently out of service for the pump, on the front. And then,
and that's the 87?
the
Engine 1 is
87's
the
pictured.
87?
Yeah, engine 1's the 87 that's pictured. Engine 5 right now is currently at the Southwest Station, it's 2003.
Okay. And then you said 4 is gone,
4 is gone, 4 is down to DPW.
and 2?
Engine 2 is a 2013, and that's at the center station as the primary tech truck.
So we've got a 2013 and a 2003 in a 1987.
The tanker's
And you said
the tanker's a 2006. The rescue's a 2001. Forester's a 2016, I believe. Ambulance 1's a 2016, ambulance 2 is a 2008, and the car's a 2017, I think.
So I'm gonna assume that maybe this is a typo, and it's actually supposed to be the engine 1 in the 1987, you said is the one that pump's working on. So if that's accurate,
Engine 5 is the one the pump works on, engine 1 is the one that...
yeah, so, sorry, I mean, I'm assuming this million is supposed to be on engine 1, because that's what they described on page 9.
But page 10 also says engine 5.
What's the mistake? Typo?
So, well, this is, regardless of that, if we had a 2003 and a 2013, do we need a third functioning engine?
I think we can discuss that another time. if
So
you'd like.
that's my big, $1
I think the
million.
I think the fire chief should be here for that discussion.
And that's totally fair, but that is,
Yeah.
that jumps straight off the page. I get that it's zero cost, but that money can go somewhere else.
Well,
No, not really.
it's the special revenue.
Not anywhere else, but like,
In the fire department.
a new ambulance, the ambulance
Got one coming up.
in 2027.
We do have one coming up. and
2031.
That's a question that I was gonna have for the fire chief.
So,
Yeah, but I think that we had that discussion with the fire chief personally.
yeah.
So,
I don't think that would like make a decision right now, but
No,
it's a question I have.
all done with the fire?
Sure.
Moving to police. Again, this is, everything here in this package, I should have said it up front, except for the possible East Street, or East Road now, athletic center, is a replacement of a current asset. Okay, so, here we go. Here again, this is a police cruiser, $85,000. The chief, and that basically talks about the, you know, the attributes of the, you can read it, I won't read it for you. And the chief has mentioned that there is a possibility of saving some $3,500 or so, not by reusing the radar, the possibility, if they can figure out how to free up the cruiser fund or whatever it is, when you basically throw $10 or $15 into the fund for every hour police is used on patrol, or what, I mean, on, what do you call it? Details. So apparently there's some money in there that could be there. I think discussion on that one is, it's got to go to town meeting, or at least on a warrant article to change the intent, so, but the money is there. And I think there's some other issues he was talking about, underrun on his budget, but that's up to you guys. So there is some opportunity to bring that number down. And there is and the chief ought to be here to talk about this, but essentially what this is actual mileage and actual hours multiplied times 33 miles per hour, if you will, for, you know, most of the police, I don't know if to say most, but a large portion of the police is idling, and that has wear and tear on it, at least on the pump on the transfer, and the engine and all the accessories. And so basically, this is where the fleet is in terms of mileage and stuff. And you can see the notes down below, we got it at 33 hours. The next page is basically, everything up to the last column is discussing what happened during the current year listed. The last column is basically total maintenance costs for that particular year. Now you can see we had a real 2016 trying to maintain a well-aged fleet. And the Crown Vics, you know, there was an issue with trying to find parts for those. Police cruiser parts are not just off the shelf at Napa. And that was up to $56,000. Back then, you could buy a car for, I think it was like $27,000, because there was a deep discount for Dodge Cruisers. Dodge wanted to try to make that the standard across the country, so. Replacement costs, I mean, certainly $56,000, $25,000 before that was certainly large. And year-to-date is $17,000 currently, so there's more information to support the request. The next page is something the chief should speak to, but essentially what it does is show there's two types of vehicles for the police. One is the patrol, which is a specific built vehicle that is used, you know, for heavy-duty suspension, cooling, generation of power, all that, as well as tires and, you know, everything else. And the other one is command, he breaks into. Since I've been involved in this, and it probably had 3 or 4, maybe even 5 chiefs, depending on how you count the part-time ones, they all come up with the same rationale, so you may want to ask him to go over that if you have a concern about how many vehicles are required. But basically, we don't buy these all at the same time, trying to buy them over a period of time. And as the patrol cars become aged such that they're not really up to standards for the police patrol, they'll be put down to the command level, where the chief and deputy chief, I believe, use those vehicles. And so basically, you'll see each vehicle 2024, and if we were to get rid of one is gonna be the 2017 in red, and we're gonna put a new one in 2024. And we just work across the page. So there is at least a scheme of a rotation, but that's predicated on the town actually funding that, so. Any other questions on the police? Oh, excuse me, there is one more. This is the issue I discovered, whatever. The cameras. One place it was left off because there's an intent of an RFP going out and possibly you guys approving this year. The last one didn't have that consideration, so it was in there. So basically, once it was identified that there was an issue between the two numbers, we finally figured out what it was, and we fixed it. So basically, for the police department, the actual building itself, I'll let you read all the information here, but basically, in a highly litigious society we have today, and also protection of individuals who are in the police four walls of their building, it's important to have that recorded. And this is really putting a more reliable system in. And, maybe one that was actually designed from scratch as opposed to added on over time. So this is the request, $35,000. I believe you guys know more about that than I do. Next, with any other questions? Next, we'll move to Parks and Recs. This request is notional $100K. The immediate request is $35,000 for looking at establishing, well, first of all, determining if the property could be used for an athletic field. And there's some question that was always an urban legend that was always for agricultural. Some research has been done to find that it was never really under a covenant of a conservation, and it was always referenced that the area they're digging gravel out of is going to be the ultimate place they're going to put the athletic fields eventually. Well, if anybody goes down there, you'll see that it'll be a long time before that ever gets flat and or finished mining out the gravel. So basically where this is, if you go down East Street, you go past the cemetery and there's a red barn there the town owns for a cemetery expansion. There's a gravel driveway that turns right. And the only fields we're talking about is not all the fields down on East Street, but it's basically the one, it's the old Selma property. And the fields, basically, I don't know, 5, 6 acres there, 7 acres. And I guess if you wanted to put a athletic center, given the fact there's plenty of loam on the field and plenty of gravel or sand or gravel underneath to allow you to massage it in any form you want and ultimately establish the necessary recreation fields. I will say, it's been a long time since, Bolton was the last field that we actually, that was a gift of the town, I believe, down in South Ware. And the nature of the property, they were able to do a full-size football field there, and I think it's sprinkled, and it's got some accoutrements, stands and such like that, storage units. The soccer field came up short. The pitch, be it the field itself, is a little short, like maybe it's like you almost cut off a section because it would protrude out into space if you built the whole thing. So it's not really a regulation or even a full-length soccer field. So the intent is for potential soccer field, you see it on the last page here, but so the cost of the $35,000. And there is a possibility of some sharing of cost by possibly the Ware Athletics Committee and maybe some other donors. So that, I think you probably know more about this because I think Denise Purington's been up here several times. So I haven't seen what she did beyond this, so you probably are more informed than I am on that. So there's some statements that I put down. You can look at the problem statement. Current status, we have decentralized and, actions, basically identify the current town's athletic structure and fit for purpose. It's one thing to say they play baseball on it, or they play soccer or football. It's another to know if the site is actually of the size that's appropriate. Who will this asset benefit and support? Of course, the youth and adults and the citizens of Ware. Last year, there was discussions about doing something to the 40-plus-year-old tennis courts last year, resurfacing it. And it may be a possibility to put that down there and use that for some other purpose. I know it was given to the town for certain conditions, but, and who are the stakeholders to fund this endeavor? Of course, the town Ware taxpayers, civic-focused nonprofits, and private donors. So, like I said, you probably know more about that than I do. So what are they looking to support on that new facility? Safe and secure access with adequate parking for events, ball fields, courts, adequate spectator seating, sanitary facilities, whether that's porta potties or whether that's a physical structure that's built, and integration systems to have the grass on the fields such that it supports the play. Any questions on that?
Not one. On page 16,
Yes.
the request priority says 100,000, but the cost impact to taxes column
The
is
100,000
35.
is the entire request. Now, it's a funny number because nobody knows what you're gonna do. So they knew it's a 5-year plan, and they're looking for initial funding for this year.
So that's the 35?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And next but not least, Jason was here, but here we are. These are the requests that Jason, the DPW director, is requesting. And 2 10-wheel trucks, $280 cost, and again, that may be high by $15,000. You never know till you have to pay it out based on inflationary pressures, but it appears to be a good top-end number. If that was paid for, it'd be 22 cents, okay, per truck. Rotary construction, $600,000 is the gross request. I think the number here is, what is it, 284 is reimbursed through the block grant, I guess, from the state of New Hampshire, leaving the town of Ware to pay $316. Again, this is basically everything to do with anything you need to buy for winter and for summer roads. That does not include any labor here. I'm not sure if it includes any rental of equipment or contract labor, such as asphalt. That'll all be in there. So this is what allows you to do. Do we still have a separate line item for calcium chloride for the summer?
He put it in his budget.
It's in there, okay. And how about the crushing of gravel cost?
I think he took that out, didn't he?
I think he left that in road
Okay,
reconstruction.
so basically, you wouldn't have any material to sand with, and for a lot of road reconstruction and dirt roads that need to be shimmed and regraded. Again, the truck is a 10-wheeler. If anybody's seen these vehicles, I'd ask you to go down and take a look. It's the ones on the left are in pretty bad shape. And reason for a 10-wheeler over a 6-wheeler is basically provides 50% more sand and salt mix, more efficient. People don't have to come make home runs back to the DPW garage area to pick up more material. This is an example of what a well-worn truck looks like. And if you're ever going to be reincarnated, you do not want to come back as a plow truck from the town of Ware. It's fully loaded, and it's doing first gear, back roads, and for plowing. In comparison to like the state are relatively level roads, state highways. They sail down there at a reasonable rate, especially on the highways, Everett Turnpike and 93. We don't have the luxury of that. The next one is trailer caddy. And when I first saw this, I kind of thought to myself, this is kind of hokey. But there's a video he played, and it shows a full-size trailer, and this being utilized or driven by anybody doesn't require a CDL license. And there is some debate on this truck where there's a clutch and transmission issue and other problems with having a CDL license guy to move it. So this is just a way of considering this as being a replacement item to get rid of that, I guess let's say 8000 Ford, 1988, I think it is. And that's the intent, T14.
That video, Jack, did it show it in the elements? Did it show it in the elements, snow, et cetera?
No, it really showed it.
On
It showed it on dirt.
On
Did it
dirt or
sh-
on pavement?
No, I don't remember.
Pavement, I think.
Pavement, yeah, sorry.
Is it paved down there?
No,
No.
not where the trailer moves it.
Okay. Again, it, battery powered, alleviates, a few things. Next one is roadside mower. We currently have a used one. I guess it's, some label of, operation. And again, this one here is just, this allows a person to go out, on staff, to go out and mow more than you probably could afford to hire another outside contractor to come out and do it. And some places rent you the unit and you supply a man, or a person, I should say. But you got any serious repairs, you gotta pay for it. So this is a high maintenance item. It's not a gentle product. It's meant to basically brush hog the sides of the roads. Couple more pages here, just kind of showing you equipment and hours that are owned and replacement on the bottom. Fleet rotation, we still got to work on this a bit. We didn't add, because the problem is, we don't know which truck is going to be the worst out of the bunch. So rather than put all the available trucks, we just basically says replace existing truck. Because even though it's requesting a particular truck, the real question becomes, if it's actually performing better than one was better the previous year. But the intent is to run a cycle here. I just want to point out that we have never been on a deterministic schedule for replacement. 2009 through 2014, we never purchased a truck. We had plenty of candidates, but it never made it up to the select board for consideration, or never made it onto the warrant article. We didn't buy one in, where it is here. We didn't buy one in 2021, principally because of COVID, and now we're back in again. I think we finally received the 2022 request.
It just arrived.
I think
one
the
of them
truck just showed up.
Yeah.
And nobody knows when last year's purchase is gonna show up, probably 2024 late. Probably around this time next year, for the one we bought last year. So, with that said, these are, we try to show a trend from 2015 to 2023. And 2024 is here. We try to show the numbers. And the back page, we try to show this as respects to total cost of CIP, previous years, which is up in the top. Long-term is DTW garage is due out until 2029, I think. And then the road preservation bond, excuse me, the other way around. 2026 is the end of the DPW garage bond. And I think the road preservation bond, the $2.5 million bond, is to 2029. Then we have no short-term currently, because we used to lease, a municipal lease, which is either like a 3 or a 5-year lease, depending if it's a grader or if it's a police car. We've done that in the past. We haven't done that since 2019 or whatever. So then we go down to total. We get down to in-year capital expenses, 2.8 thousand. That's the gross. Total debt and capital. And then we go to offsetting revenues, and baked in there is $1,000, $1 million for the fire truck. And we're left with 1224,088. 0808. And the current taxes, based on our current valuation of $1.29 billion for the town of Ware, which is basically at a 77%. So if you really want to get the real, probably a closer number, divide that number by 0.77. It'll give you what the town of Ware's real value is, adjusted for not having it at 100%. And it's 96 cents based on the page 8, which is the 2 trucks being picked up for 80% of the truck cost.
Any questions for Mr. Dearborn?
Nothing additional.
Nothing additional?
Yes,
That's
the
great.
idea is to hang on to that, study it, and then when your department heads come in,
Great
you
question,
can,
Mark.
you can do it in combination with the budget.
Great.
Happy
Thank you, sir.
Thanksgiving.
Appreciate it.
Thank
You as well. Okay.
The manifest?
Yeah, he does. Tell you.
All right, I will move to order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payables checks dated November 22nd, 2023, as included in the following manifest. Payroll manifest, $73,827.68, weekly payroll, and accounts payable manifest, $51,855.55, for a total of $125,683.23.
So moved.
He moved it. You're gonna second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Me.
All right.
It goes down in Naomi.
Before you adjourn, the gentleman for the, he's willing to take what we talked about last week, he
Oh.
confirmed it.
Oh,
And
for
he'd
the
like to
the
start on-
handyman?
He'd like to start on Monday, the 27th, for the $22. It's gone away.
Sounds
for-
great.
Sounds good to me. So, I guess we have to just move to hire him, is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna move that we hire Tim Burgess at the rate of $22 an hour to be the part-time general services maintenance person / handyman.
I'll second it.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
And the board had previously conducted an interview with Mr. Burgess before.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
There's one thing I'm hoping to sneak in before we adjourn,
Yeah.
since Mark's here.
Okay.
Just say it in public, I guess. We talked about the temporary MOU last week, started to. I
Okay.
just want to make sure, at the absolute minimum, we are going to address that next week, because it has to absolutely happen by next week. I think there was some confusion last week, some information that was not shared with us until we were already talking about it. And what did we learn this week? We delayed a week. So do we have the information we need? We were gonna, we didn't do it, we did not approve the MOU last week,
Right,
so we delayed.
Which is why he's here.
he's here.
And that's why I guess was hoping to pick up initially in public, and can we do that part of it? Because it's not strictly with the CBA. There's the CBA part of it as well. There's the one temporary MOU that they're still interested in, that he'd emailed last week and said, hey, you may have one concern, and we did not, we didn't have the
Yes.
details, I couldn't get on the internet, I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So, I think we saw what the concern was,
I guess it was my understanding that the MOU, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was we have a lead negotiator, they have a lead negotiator, and the two of them are supposed to
Hash out the details.
hash out the details.
For the
and then
CBA, though.
I thought was for MOU.
Which the MOU is a contract for the CBA, it's current on the books. So,
But this is the 2024 CBA negotiation, and what we're discussing is a MOU for the 2023 already agreed upon CBA.
so I guess my question is, do you not want,
And I'm fine roping him in. That's why I just
Yeah.
like,
No, I-
is it, who
that's-
still has concerns that we can hash out, like, while everybody's still watching? Instead of disappearing. And,
oh, no,
like,
I don't think, I think the concerns, I believe were answered. It was, we were gonna have to select,
Yeah, one of those two.
One of those two options.
And the second option was modified slightly, and we wanted to make sure, are we still good with that? And he had offered a phone call. I think we probably should have done that last week and just finalized it. So I'm kind of in that same boat of, well, if we could have made a phone call last week and done it, and he's sitting in the room right now, why don't we just knock it out? Instead of delaying a week.
oh, I
We're
think.
down a member, what happens if we're out?
I think we knock it out, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
If you're asking about timing, can we do it now?
Now, before we go.
yeah, and maybe we find out, okay, we do need to wait a week. That's fine, but can we just split it into two things? Where we are gonna talk about the 2024 CBA in a non-meeting with our town council, but if you don't mind, could we discuss that MOU, the temporary MOU set to expire December something for the promotion that we had the two options presented. You had said, well, maybe consider this alternative, and we had not yet considered that alternative. Do you know what I'm, like, I know I'm jumping.
Are we allowed to, and you haven't even talked to the other party yet, right?
So we want to make sure that the board was on board before we presented
Correct.
to the union.
It is your opinion that we should not proceed right now
To sign the agreement?
to sign the one MOU, right?
Until that question is finalized.
There's no need, yes, that, and there's no need to sign it until it's been shared with the union, they agree to it, then it'll come back to you.
Yeah, we just have to be in support of it.
Okay, that's fine. As
Option
long as we
two
get
or
that
whatever.
done
Yeah.
next Monday.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I don't see why we can't do
Okay.
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure there weren't any, if we find out, we
No.
go into this next meeting and it's like, oh, we should have done that, and we're like, okay, that's fine.
I've got a curveball. I wanna have I think it's under C, I believe. Let me just look real quick here.
While you,
A and C.
Could you do it after we meet?
We can do that, absolutely.
After we meet with Mark, so we're not
Absolutely.
holding him up?
Yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
I guess, recognize, so did you put this together?
I did.
So recognize the town administrator. Got here, and these folders are sitting here. It's something we've talked about forever, something Kevin talked about forever.
Kind of where policies and ordinances and regulations.
So it's currently 21 item table of contents, everything split out by tab. So
Excellent job, thank you.
recognize you. Getting that together.
Yes, I got lots of studying to do. So, all right, with that, we will, but if we adjourn and go in non-meeting, can I have the non-public afterwards? That's my only question. It's gonna be quick.
So Mark, we can go out to discuss
To a non-meeting.
non-meeting, but he has an issue that he needs to do as non-public. Do we come back in from our non-meeting?
Come back for your non-meeting and vote
To
to go into
non-public.
non-public.
Okay, so we can come back and do it,
I
that's fine.
can't flip the TV on, but.
No, that's fine, I wanna make sure, cause it says adjournment and then go into,
Yes,
so I
sorry.
don't wanna
No, I'm
adjourn.
with you, like, we wouldn't still be in the meeting anymore.
That's my thought. So, should we do, it's gonna be quick. Can we have-
I would feel more comfortable.
I'd feel more comfortable doing it now and then adjourning and then
Yeah.
talking to Mark. If
I know it's
that's-
gonna cost a little bit of money, but I'd feel
Exactly.
more comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I do too, because we're still in session,
Yeah.
right, so.
I went through, I read a whole bunch of the non-public minutes, all of 2022, 2023. We'd kind of, like, we're gonna do the review in February.
Yeah.
It took less than an hour to get through both years, so I feel
Okay.
pretty good about
Okay,
what we're gonna do in February. There's a lot I think we can publicize.
okay,
I'll say that.
all right. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna move to a non-public under RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2, A and C. Is there a second?
Second.
Move second, all those in favor? Roll call, yes?
Yes.
Yes, not sure what it's about.
I don't know what it's about either, but I'll be game to find out.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you. We'll be adjourning afterwards, then going to non-meeting with our labor attorney. Discuss the CBA. Yeah.
He dropped his money.
Yeah, I see that. All that hard.
Hang on.
Yeah, you wanna give us 2 minutes, if you could?